Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan with the Motor City Madmouth, and on Monday Night Baseball, who cares about the Monday Night football game? A lot of people do. Well, we're not worried about it at the moment. I have my colleagues on Monday night, David Hodges out in Gastonia, North Carolina. What's going on, David?
How you doing, guys?
Doing all right. And up the road on I-85 is Mr. Charlotte Bats himself, Rick Curti. Good evening, Mr. Curti.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're doing all right. And before Rick Curti ever forgets anything later in the broadcast, I'll let people know that Rick Curti handles our social media for the South Florida Tribune. So, Rick, we appreciate everything you do to help us get the word out, both with the content as well as everything else you do for us. So thank you very much for what you do, Rick. We mightily appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, well, with that said, let's talk baseball. San Diego Padres clinched their first postseason berth since 2006. Who leads off?
I guess I'll take that one.
All right, so we're going to start. One guy leads off. It'll be automatic for the other guy to go next. All right, David, what do you got?
Well, definitely happy for the franchise itself. It's obviously a very storied, very proud franchise in Major League Baseball. And again, shame, no fans are allowed in the stands, of course, due to the ongoing pandemic. But again, it's, as we've mentioned here in past weeks, the Padres are they are the feel-good story of this COVID-plagued season, and I'm so happy for them. Obviously, San Diego can go into the playoffs. Hopefully they can have a good run. A lot of times you look over past, seasons and back in baseball history where a lot of teams will just storm through the entire season and then kind of fall flat on their faces when going into the postseason. Hopefully that's not the case with San Diego. Obviously they've got, such a nucleus there. Tatis Jr., Machado, of course getting Clevenger from the Indians at the trade deadline a few weeks ago. Eric Hosmer down there as well. But yeah, I'm just so happy for him. It's a great ball club, and hopefully they can just keep the momentum going.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, yeah, they're definitely the feel-good story of the year. Congratulations to the Padres. They have not had the most greatest track record as a franchise. I remember many years they were so awful and so bad, and thank God for people like Tony Gwynn that was there. But congratulations to them. A couple of years ago, someone told me to watch out for those Padres, and I was just rolling my eyes, and I was like, they're way too young. And then when I heard their manager, I'm like, who is this guy? And apparently they're doing everything right. So, and with this crazy, bizarre 2020 season, they really got a shot to win this whole thing because it's just so up in the air right now. Dodgers are rolling right now, but anything can happen. We've seen so many upsets. So, congratulations to the Padres, and just keep an eye out on them. They are very legit.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't realize that Padres, for as gaudy as their jerseys have been, I think they've been pretty actually entertaining to look at. Their track record obviously hadn't been great over the years, but when you think about it, they did make it to the 84 World Series, and Dick Williams was certainly on that team. But, some of the four players that stand out to me are Rich Gossage, Dave Winfield, Trevor Hoffman, and Rick, you just alluded to it, Tony Gwynn. So we'll see what type of stars emerge from this group. But either way, the San Diego Padres are headed to Texas, to the bubble, and Texas is where the National League is going to be. You have, of course, the new ballpark in Arlington for the Rangers, as well as the Houston ballpark. So, yeah, you're right. And we've been following this story all baseball season about San Diego, and I am really delighted to see they'll be back in the postseason. And, we could be seeing a lot of teams breaking some long droughts as well. I'm hopeful that maybe the Miami Marlins will be able to do that. They haven't been there since 2003, but, boy, we have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'll get to the Marlins later. But our schedule this week, you have the Atlanta Braves for 4 games in a row, and then, of course, they ended up with the New York Yankees. So the Marlins have a tough row, but let's stay on point with San Diego. The Padres could be very, very, very dangerous. And that manager was his name, Jace. I'm trying to remember his name, but regardless, this young unheralded guy Jace, help me out. Trying to think of who it is now. I have one of those little bit of brain collapses here, but we'll talk about Hosmer, and I'll tell you what, they've made some pretty important trades, that's for sure, to get them where they're at. And I'll tell you what, if the Los Angeles Dodgers don't go ahead and pay much attention to them, I'll tell you, the Padres could sneak up on them for sure.
Jace Tingler is the manager of that ball club.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks. Yeah, so there's a guy who can easily make a case for manager of the year.
Yep.
For sure. So there you go, folks. Jace Tingler. You ever heard of him? No, but I'll tell you what, a lot of clubs are going to be looking for some of these young baseball minds for sure, and apparently the Padres hit on one. Is he the next Bruce Bochy? I don't know, but he's off to a really, really fine start for sure. All right, let's go on to the New York Yankees. They're definitely familiar with the postseason. They've clinched their fourth straight playoff berth, 22nd time in 1995. All right, Rick, go ahead. The Bronx Bombers.
Well, they seem to turn it around, and we talk about the poor Padres who've had not much success and very little success, and here we talk about the Yankees, probably the greatest sports franchise in all of professional sports, and won more World Series than anyone. They're just a sensational team, and they seem to have turned it around. And they were really injured a lot, and they weren't playing very well. And the key for the Yankees is to stay healthy. That's just what it is. They had to stay healthy, and they got bit by that injury bug. But like I said, they've turned it around. And whenever the Yankees are in it, they're always going to be a favorite. And they're a favorite right now, and we'll just see. As long as they can stay healthy and get that pitching good and their bullpen, they're going to go a long, long way. And like I said, I see a Dodgers-Yankees World Series, and I said that from the beginning, and I'm sticking to it. So, as long as they stay healthy, they'll be fine.
Yeah, but you've been a critic of Aaron Boone. You can't deny that. You don't think that he's got what it takes. Are you still a critic of him, knowing that he's done a really good job? At least one thing about you.
I am. I just don't. I didn't like him. I didn't like him when they first hired him. I love Girardi. When they got rid of Girardi, that was Girardi's best season as a manager. Because you talk about the walking wounded, and for them to go as far as they did, I was really surprised they got rid of him, and it was a head scratcher with Aaron Boone. But he's doing a great job. I got to give it to him. But is he going to be like Bruce Bochy, or is he going to be a legendary man? He could be. I don't see it, but I got to tip my hat off to right now to Aaron Boone. He's really turned it around. Yeah,
but you're at least the one thing I'll give you credit though, Rick. When you are a critic of somebody, you don't back down, and that way nobody can say, I'm a bandwagon guy. Now, you stick to your guns. More power.
Yeah, I like Aaron Boone. He was a great announcer on ESPN. And, I love his father as the catcher for the Angels for many, many years, and his brother. And I have nothing against the guy. I just tell people my opinion. I like they should have given Girardi another shot, and now the Phillies look really good. So I still think it's a head scratcher a moment, but when you're loaded like that and you got all those players and you got that big old payroll,
Well, that's the thing. I know we've talked about on the numerous broadcasts that we have that the Yankees are made out of glass, and perhaps that might be true. But as long as you get these guys back at the right time, and I'm with you, Rick. I've always said all along, I believe it was the Dodgers and the Yankees, and I'm going to stick to that prediction. I'm not going to give up on it now. David, go ahead. What do you think about this?
Well, you can't really think of baseball postseason without the New York Yankees, and of course, we know they had some problems a couple weeks ago, and they've absolutely dominated the Boston Red Sox this year, and of course, as been talked about, been a little up and down, but obviously, they're back in, and you would always have to look at them as a possible favorite coming out of the American League, and because some teams might struggle during the year or certain parts of the year. But, when they get into the postseason, you have to watch out for them because, the postseason is a completely different animal and that goes for any sport. the postseason is just completely different from the regular season. And, teams that just steamroll through the regular season can just hit a wall and fall apart, and vice versa. So I'm actually going to go. I think I'll go Yankees Padres for the World Series. I'm picking San Diego to get all the way to the Fall Classic.
Well, bear in mind those two teams once met in the World Series, and the Yankees got the better of it with Tony Gwynn there. And of course, for that matter, the Padres' other appearance was against the Detroit Tigers. So yeah, that could be a pretty interesting matchup for sure with the Yankees and the Padres. I wouldn't sleep on that. I know a lot of people are talking about the Dodgers, but the Dodgers got to get back there, and it's not like they have a commanding lead over the Padres, but the Padres have been playing well, and they've certainly been a great story all year without a doubt. So with that said, let's talk about something you just segued into. The Red Sox beat the Yankees the other day on Sunday to snap a 12-game skid against their rivals. This is unheard of, but that obviously we look at the Red Sox struggling. David Dombrowski left, and now they're scrambling big time. Excuse me. So
yeah, it's definitely been a year. The Red Sox are going to want to forget, and of course, like a lot of teams, obviously with having to go play where they're not used to, going to bubbles in certain locations, and it's definitely going to be I would think a little bit of a morale booster for the Bo Sox, but. It's been a struggle this year. Of course, a couple guys, were traded away, but, and again, like I've been saying, a lot of teams, including the Red Sox this year, just kind of leave this season in the rearview mirror and, look ahead to the future.
Well, the Red Sox are 20-34. They're 15 games back in front of, the Tampa Bay Rays. So there's no question that, and their run differential, believe it or not, it's minus 73. And we know where a lot of that production went when Mookie Betts went to the West Coast. And here's another thing, too. J.D. Martinez is not having a very good year either. So Ron Gardenhire has a tough job. But it's still hard to imagine, though, the Red Sox losing 12 games in a row to the Boston Red Sox. Rick?
The Red Sox have been horrific. I think a lot of people are not really surprised because of the whole Alex Cora cheating thing. Getting rid of your best player, Mookie Betts, is doing sensational in Los Angeles. Seems to really love it out there. They've just been horrific. I'm pretty sure. I think that Fenway Park, if I'm not mistaken, was open on the day of the Titanic, and so this has been a Titanic of a year for them. It's just been pretty much just awful. It's gotten maybe a little bit, they put playing maybe a little bit better, but pretty much they have just been awful. But not really surprising with all the scandals going on and getting Reneke as their manager, but then saying he's an acting manager, but making him the manager and all this kind of stuff. And it's just been an awful year, and they just need to get better, get ready for next season, and just forget about this season and just move on for next season. That's all they could do right now.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Gardenhire was put in a very difficult situation. You already alluded to it, Rick. Okay, Alex Cora was removed of his duties right away, and Ron Gardenhire was there. So, you know what? Ron Gardenhire, to me, deserves a gold medal for going through all this chaos, knowing he hadn't had a lot of time to really get used to what was going in front of him. So, and when J.D. Martinez is not doing well, Chris Sale goes down to an arm injury, and then they had the other guy, Rodriguez, I think, as well. So, they've been snake bit in a lot of ways. But let's not kid ourselves. The trade of Mookie Betts and David Price, of course, David Price didn't play for the Dodgers this year, but it's not the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You lose
all the good players are gone, and now Dave Dombrowski, as some people like to call him, he's been gone too. So it's just been a nightmare of the season. They just got to rebuild for next season and just forget about Alex Cora. And that's just been up there, and that's all the people are going to talk about right now with Alex Cora, and of course losing your two best players. It's just been, you just need to forget about it and just get ready for the next season. It's just all they can do.
All right. Well, obviously, Boston Red Sox, just are currently in last place in their division. Why I say that is even the Baltimore Orioles have overtaken them, and they're in fourth place with a 23-31 mark. And as it stands right now, they are 3 games in front of the Boston Red Sox. Who'd have thunk that? I realize COVID-19 in 2020 is crazy, but to see the Baltimore Orioles be ahead of the Red Sox, to me, is a little surprising. But, we know where the Red Sox are. They're, their former general manager and president is trying to bring Major League Baseball to Nashville. Not quite your city, Rick. But I'll bet if you had Dave Dombrowski leading your efforts, you probably might like him, wouldn't you?
I'd love to have Dave Dombrowski. When you're a new team, you want to get a name out there, and he's a name out there.
Right.
He's had a good track record, but he's a name. That's what you would like. I mean, if Bobby Valentine was my manager, I'd probably be happy, even though, he didn't have a great track record, especially with the Red Sox. So, I mean, they're names, and I think once you bring a name out there, people recognize. They're like, okay, they're legit. They got some players there that I recognize, or a manager there, or an owner or a general manager there. I recognize the name. It brings a lot of credibility to what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all due respect, Dave Dombrowski is one of the most outstanding minds in baseball, but his philosophy is what it is. I'm going to go out there and trade away a lot of young talent to win now. Unfortunately, a lot of the farm systems are depleted when he leaves. So you have to make the sacrifice. If you're looking to win now, this guy will make that key trade or 2 or 3, and he's bold. But do you mortgage the future? Without a doubt. So that's happened in 2 of his stops with the Florida Marlins at the time and the Detroit Tigers. Unfortunately, the Tigers don't have a World Series championship to show for it, but 2 appearances in the World Series. With that said, let's talk about the Minnesota Twins. Clinched their playoff spot for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Is this team for real? Who wants to take this one?
I'll go.
Okay.
That's a tough one. I mean, it's so hard to say because this season has been so unpredictable. Do I think they're for real? Honestly, personally, I don't think they are. I just think they're just having a season that, like I said, is just unconventional. So, I mean, they're a surprise to me. I didn't see this coming. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs, but congratulations to what they're doing. They're doing great, for this crazy season. So, but do I think they're for real? No, I don't think they're for real, but I think it's a great story.
All right, David.
Yeah, I agree with Rick on this one. I don't see them going too far. Do I think they could cause problems for some other teams? Absolutely. I don't see them as just a pushover. Whoever they would face in the first round, whoever they are playing, they better not get complacent and say, well, okay, we got the Twins in the first round, we lucked out. I think they're decent, but, again, no, I don't think they're for real either. But again, could they cause problems, cause a couple of headaches? Most definitely.
Well, the only thing I'll say about it is, for them to convince me that they're real, they have to beat their postseason nemesis, the New York Yankees. And they struggle in the postseason against the Yankees. They do. They have to get over their postseason nemesis. And that's exactly what you have.
Mm-hmm.
They get past the Yankees, which it doesn't look like, if the Yankees continue to get hot, they're gonna steamroll through the playoffs. Although, if the Yankees have anybody to worry about, it probably might, believe it or not, be the Chicago White Sox. That team is another team which is dangerous. And the Yankees obviously have the Rays, but I don't know. The Rays are 7-3 in their last 10. Of course, the Yankees are 9-1 in their last 10. And when we look down the particulars here, the White Sox are 7-3 in their last 10, and so are the Twins. And we even take it a step further. Nobody in the American League West is doing it in their last 10. The Oakland A's, whom we're going to talk about in a moment, are 5-5. But that said, interesting story back in my hometown. The Detroit Tigers manager Ron Gardenhire retired Friday at the age of 62 to health reasons. Plus, he was a little stressed out about the rebuild. What are your thoughts about the retirement of Ron Gardenhire? I know he's definitely done as a manager. He's indicated as such. He's with 1,200. He leaves with 1,200 wins. I believe 45th all time on the list, and he pretty good career. So, all right, Dave Hodges, you go ahead and start off with Gardy.
Well, it's definitely a surprise, whenever a manager, or a head coach, whatever the sport may be, steps down abruptly. But of course, with this year again, as we keep talking about COVID plague, don't expose yourself to it if you don't have to. Of course, not that anybody, or any of the Tigers would, might possibly have it. Of course, obviously, players are tested, and I'm sure temperatures are taken, and precautions are put in place before players even arrive at the ballpark. But if he can, have some time to take a step away from the game and take care of his health and just de-stress, as we all know, all the stresses in life, and I can only imagine what these head coaches that are just getting paid large sums of money that they're expected to produce so much. And again, you're talking about a rebuild. If he's not going to have anything to say concerning the rebuild, then that right there, it's it kind of makes me think of the old Bill Parcells saying, if you want me to prepare the meal, you have to let me shop. You have to let me shop for the groceries. That's one thing he always said. If you're going to give me this team, you need to at least have my input. And for managers who they may not have as much input as they like, or they may not have as much input at all. It's definitely gonna be stressful. And if he has no reason to be managing right now, he's taking care of all his money. I see no reason for him to stay in it. If he doesn't need the stress and he wants to, as he said, take care of his health, then by all means step away from the game. And it might make the higher ups. The team starts to tail off. Of course, obviously the season's coming to an end soon, but and they lose that leadership in the clubhouse, then and maybe the higher ups would say, well, maybe we should have given them a little bit more say in the meetings. But good for him. Of course, taking care of one's health, that's the best thing anybody can do. Well, that and looking after their families. But if he doesn't need the stress and he doesn't need the job right now, then kudos to him for stepping up and saying, I'm just going to focus on other things right now.
Well, he's a cancer survivor with all due respect, and I know that he used to have daily meetings with Al Avila for sure. So how much say can you really expect in something like this, knowing that he knew what he was getting into with a rebuild? I mean, could they have upgraded the talent a little bit better? No, without a doubt they could, but I guess nobody ever said that a rebuild was ever easy to deal with. But, he's definitely a cancer survivor and has quite a few health issues. Rick, what are your thoughts about Ron Gardenhire deciding to leave a little bit earlier?
Like David said, with his crazy season with COVID in the air, now he's a cancer survivor. You can't blame him. You really can't blame him. And being the manager of the Tigers, I can see why he kind of left. It's just it's going to be a long rebuild. They're not very good, and he just probably figured, it's time. Whether he retired for good, will he come back? It's a question mark. I don't think he will. I think he just retired. And he's been a good manager, with the Twins, and this long rebuild with the Tigers. So good for him for doing what he did. Probably wants to spend more time with his family. He figures life's too short. He's made a lot of money for Major League Baseball. It's time. And can he come back next year? I mean, he could come back to another team or maybe change his mind, but I don't think so. I think he's retired for good, and good for him for doing that. And like I said, it's all about being with your family, being safe, and he figured he's put in so many years. It's just time.
Well, yeah, he has indicated he wants to spend more and more time with his family. And again, when you go through a rebuild, there's no question it's a tough process, and everybody definitely knows that Ron has done a lot of good work. I think people will appreciate the fruits of his work in the next year or two. Again, COVID-19, he had stomach problems like 2 weeks ago. And, so Lloyd McClendon is the interim manager. With that said, okay, what are your thoughts about Lloyd McClendon? And let's think about some managerial candidates.
Well, I remember Lloyd McClendon was he the manager that argued with the umpire and took the first base with him to the dugout?
That's why he was the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, I think he was the manager with the Pirates at that time. So he was a good baseball player. I remember him very well. He's just a replacement, so I don't know if he'll be the full time if they can't get like another name out there. I know Bruce Bochy has retired, but could they coax him to come back? And if they give him a lot of money, possibly, but I don't know if that will happen. You got Mike Scioscia out there still. I'm surprised the Dodgers haven't tried to get, but Mike Scioscia's out there if he wants to come back. So there's a lot of interesting candidates out there. They can go to the minor league system and maybe get a young, aspiring star to come out, a manager, sort of like what the Padres have done. They totally hit a home run with their manager. So it'll be a very interesting with the Tigers. It might be a little hard because they're going through a rebuild right now and they haven't been very good. So it's going to be a challenge for them, but those are the names right now that I can think of that are possibilities for the Tigers. So we'll see what Lloyd McClendon does.
Yeah, I think definitely Lloyd McClendon's going to get 9 or 10 days. He's 61 years of age. I'll throw a name at both of you guys after David Hodges go ahead and gives me his input on this.
Yeah, I think he's a good stopgap. I know he managed my Seattle Mariners for I believe it was about 2 or 3 seasons up there in the Pacific Northwest, and
right.
You really can't say it was the greatest of tenures. Of course, Seattle's just kind of a team that really exists. I've been following the team ever since the late '80s, and of course when Ken Griffey Jr. came into the league, but. He's definitely a name he's known in baseball circles. He's been around for quite some time, as you two have put it. And but a lot of times you never know. It could be the person you think you just put in to maybe get you a couple wins here and there, and he could get many more wins than you thought possible. So best of luck to Lloyd McClendon on it, and we'll see what he can do with the Tigers.
Yeah. Now, with all due respect to Gardenhire, apparently it looks like his contract was set to retire at the end of the year anyway, so that's something he decided to go ahead and get it over with. Leaves with 132 and 241 mark, but I think that's pretty deceiving considering the massive thing. But apparently, what convinced him to retire right away was he had a food poisoning situation combined with stomach problems and the stress of managing the Tigers. So when you talk about health reasons, you do. I'll throw a name out there that I think a lot of people might want to think about. I think this is a good opportunity for Lloyd McClendon to make an impression with Al Avila and Chris Elledge. McClendon's only 61 years old, so anytime you get 8-9 games, you're getting a head start in the process. But Lance Parrish is managing in the Detroit Tigers farm system. I don't know if you know that, but Lance Parrish,
Interesting. Yeah, I love Lance Parrish. I remember when he was with the Angels, and he was a great back catcher. That would be great. I'd love to see Lance Parrish back in baseball, and I think he would make a very good manager. That's a good name.
Yeah, he's actually, right now he apparently is the single A manager of the West Michigan Whitecaps of the Midwest season, and then. He was actually, on November 12th of 2019, he was named a special assistant to the general manager for the Tigers. But when you look at Lance Parrish's track record, considering where he's been in development. Let's talk about some of the stops that he's made. And I think it's an intriguing one. I don't know if they're going to look at it or not, but some stops he spent. We'll look at some of his managerial stops. He actually became a minor league manager with the Ogden Raptors, the Dodgers rookie level team in '06. But then he also was hired to manage the Great Lake Loons. They're out of Midland, Michigan, by the way, and single A ball during their debut season in 2006. But he's also been, when you think about recently with the Tigers on February 5th of 2014, Lance Parrish was named manager of the Double-A affiliate of the Detroit Tigers, the Erie Seawolves, and he recently served as manager, like I mentioned, the West Michigan Whitecaps of the Midwestern League. So he's looked at Tigers organization, and if I were them, I'd give Lance Parrish a good look for sure. So we'll see. Now consensus: are you looking for the next Kevin Cash, Chase Tingler, and some of the other young guys? They tried it with Osmith a little bit younger, didn't quite work out, but there's a lot of great young baseball minds. You want it, and Lance Parrish, when you think about him, he's only 64 years of age, so he's not that old. He isn't, he had a pretty solid career, 252 average, 324 home runs, and again, he fits in the mold of catchers, right? Becoming managers. He's an 8-time All-Star. He demands credibility. So just a few things out there. So you guys like the thought of Lance Parrish, don't you?
I do. I really do. I had no idea that he was managing. I was wondering what happened to him, and then when he brought up his name, and he was a really great player, and I remember him very well especially when he was with the Angels. So, and I had no idea he was managing, and it seems like he's really grown, and he's really started from the bottom, and he's trying to get to the top, and he played for the Tigers, so and he's a name, so I think he would be a very good, and I think he'd be an interesting choice. I think he'd be a great manager.
Yeah, well, I think nobody's managing in 2020, but I guess he was named a special assistant to the general manager for the Tigers. So if that doesn't get you a foot in the door, then tell me what the heck it takes to get a foot in the door on. So let's go ahead and talk. Let's talk about the White Sox for just a quick moment. They actually earned their first playoff berth since 2008. I mentioned them before, and they snapped another drought. It seems like you're seeing a lot of teams snap droughts, which is why I'm hoping the Marlins indeed fall into that situation. But that said, let's talk about Justin Verlander facing Tommy John surgery at 37, and he will attempt to do the impossible. Tommy John surgery at 37, out.
Yikes.
Can he do it?
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, if there's anybody who can come back from it, Justin Verlander. He's been one of the most. The man's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. I mean, he's one of the best pitchers that we've seen in our era. He's thrown multiple no-hitters, been successful with 2 different teams. But you can't fool Mother Nature. That's the thing. And at 37, Tommy John surgery. I don't think so. But you know what? I'd love to see him try it, and if there's anyone who can do it, it can be him. But do I think he can do it? I don't think so. I think it's probably time for him to move on. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's been a terrific, terrific pitcher for many years, in both American and National. So I mean, we'll see what happens. But do I think he can do it? I don't think so. But if there's anyone who can do it, why not him?
Right. And by the way, you can't fool Mother Nature, and they should always say, Rick, that Father Time always wins.
Yeah.
All right, Dave Hodges, go ahead. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree with Rick on that one. He's had a great career. Personally, with the Houston cheating scandal, that kind of be a black eye on his resume. Yeah. Any baseball purist and, a Hall of Fame voter might, kind of look sideways at that. But, all the great years he had with the Tigers. And I could see him coming back from this, or, he's making the attempt to. But that's, it's one thing from making an attempt to it being successful. I could see him maybe pitching possibly another season after that. Of course, but then, he'd be probably 38 looking at 39. It's going to be hard, but, maybe it's just, the male, professional male athlete pride. I could see him trying to, definitely give it a go. And then, It doesn't seem like to me he's the kind of person who will, if it's not working, then he'd say, okay, maybe it's, best to hang up the cleats and, if he can't, say get, a major league contract or if all the only teams are going to give him a minor league, personally find him, I'd say, well, I gave it a shot, didn't work out. Maybe it's best to, hang him up and focus on the future, possibly going to coaching, broadcasting. But as you guys have said, he's, one of the best pitchers of this era that we've seen. And, if he can't come back, definitely nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, believe it or not, I actually think that he can. I really do. Sometimes, for some crazy, I don't know why, he's such an incredible competitor. He really is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, no hitters. He's got a World Series ring. I mean, I don't think he's totally responsible for what happened with the Astros. There's a bigger picture there, but when you think about what he's done, and bear in mind, he'll likely miss the entirety of the 2021 season, and will schedule hit free agency upon its conclusion. So you never know. He could be one of those kinds of guy. All right, misses 2021. Who knows what COVID is going to look like next year? Anyway, nobody has any idea. So if you're going to time, if you're going to time this operation, do it now. But I wouldn't put nothing past him. I just would not do it. I hate betting against people like this.
Yeah, I mean, he could do it. He could, and but if I was him, why would I? I mean, I got Kay Upton as my wife, so that'll give me a reason to stay at home more. So, but I mean, like I said,
any reasons to not leave the house.
Yeah, I mean, probably, but
it's not like I feel bad for Justin Verlander. Okay, let's put it that way. But if there's anyone who can do it, and would I be shocked if he came back? No. Would I be shocked if some desperate team gets him? No. But do I think it'll happen? I don't think so. But I won't be entirely shocked if he does do it.
I don't know. I some reason or another, I have a feeling that Mr. Verlander can pull it off. I've seen crazier things happen. You got to remember, if he does come back, he is chasing some milestones, by the way. I mean, right now he has 226 wins. I'm sure he'd love to be able to hit the 250 mark at some point. And he has 3,013 strikeouts. So an eight-time All-Star, to me, is pretty good. And he has a world championship ring, whether it's with the Astros or not. I think the Astros cheating scandal goes beyond Justin Verlander. But you talk about a guy who's extremely competitive, in my opinion. He's definitely one of those for sure. So I don't know. I'm not betting against the guy. That's all I can tell you. I'll give Justin Verlander the benefit of the doubt until the doubt creeps into my benefit. All right. So let's talk about another postseason team. The Oakland A's are headed back there for the third straight season. Billy Moneyball's working. At least they're getting there, and it doesn't hurt they have Bob Melvin as their manager. Can the A's actually go deep into this postseason? What many people are viewing as a really crazy thing. I mean, they're going into it 33 up, 20 down.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, anytime you're in the playoffs, especially with COVID and this crazy year, I mean, anybody is a possibility could win. I mean, he's done a terrific job. And I mean, Moneyball right now, I mean, we'll see if it really, really works. It's all about winning the World Series, and the A's haven't won the World Series yet with Moneyball, but they have been successful. Billy Beane has just done he's a genius for what he does. So there's a possibility they can go far. We'll see. They have struggled in the playoffs in the past. But if there's a year you can win it all this year, and once you're in the playoffs, it's pretty much anyone can win it right now. So they got a great chance of winning the whole thing.
Dave?
Yeah, I think they can make a little bit of a run here. If I was a betting man, would I put money on it? Probably not. But again, as we mentioned earlier in the show, when you get into the playoffs, it's a completely different animal. And some players who might have been quiet during the year, they show up. Others that have been loud during the year, they might, not show up. So, again, I kind of like I guess a West Coast version of the Twins. They could, cause some headaches or, maybe cause some series, to go the distance. But do I see them going far? Not really. But again,
Dave, you had a great analogy.
Causing some headaches.
Love the analogy. West Coast version of the Minnesota Twins. That is a really good analogy.
I like it.
Yeah, I really do. That's true. They're built to get there, but can they go any further? They have nemesis they have to take. The only thing people have to understand about baseball, though, is teams play series all year long. Okay? Not one game, come back another time or whatever. So baseball teams are built for the series format. Now you find out how good you are when you go into an extended series in terms of how much your talent level is. But that's how these teams are built, and that's how they adjust. But comparing him to the Minnesota Twins, very good. All right. Let's go on to a guy who we know is going to the Hall of Fame. Albert Pujols, who's 40 years of age, I might add, passes Willie Mays for fifth on the all-time home run leaderboard. He had 2 home run night. He got number 661, a momentous home run off of Texas left-handed pitcher Wes Benjamin. That's Wes Benjamin. He will be a footnote for Albert Pujols fans. So next up, you've got Alex Rodriguez. You got Babe Ruth. Alex Rodriguez is 696, Babe Ruth 714. Hank Aaron 755, and Mr. Fraud himself, Barry Bonds 762, who I don't recognize as a home
Mr.
team.
Fraud.
Yeah, well, he is, but I have to mention him because he does have 762. If there's ever a thing that needs an asterisk on it, it's Bonds, but they won't do it. So let's hope somebody can break it, so we don't have to talk about Barry Bonds, Mr. Fraud. So let's talk about not my editorialized opinions on Mr. Bonds. Let's celebrate Albert Pujols. Okay, Hodges, go for it.
Well, as we've talked about, Albert Pujols over the past couple of weeks. He's definitely he's a once in a generation player, and we're very blessed to be able to be living in a time where we can watch him play. Of course, again, COVID has thrown a wrench into a lot of people's plans over this season, but. He just seems to want to keep rolling and just keep going with it. He's just he will go down as one of the greatest hitters of all time. To play the game of baseball, and just congratulations to the man, and and thank you for being the great player that he is.
Right.
Yeah, he's a true legend. We're talking about Justin Verlander being a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's another first ballot Hall of Famer easily, is Albert Pujols, and congratulations on passing the great Willie Mays. I hope he passes Alex Rodriguez, who's another fraud with Mr. Bonds right there. Can he do it? Quite possibly. So, he's just a great player. He's one of the greatest right-handed, hitters in Major League Baseball history. Class act, never been linked to any kind of steroid scandal, never heard any bad press about him. Beloved in St. Louis, beloved everywhere, well respected. And it's been great seeing Albert Pujols. He's a legend. And can he get to 700? Maybe. I don't know if he could, but maybe he can. But if there's anyone who could do it, why not him? And I don't know if he'll pass Bonds, but it'll be great if he did. But, I don't know if he'll pass him. But can he get to 700? Possibly. So we'll see. But he's just a great player, class act on and off the field. And to not have any scandals, especially in an era with social media and where everyone's recording you at all times. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. So, I'm a huge Albert Pujols fan, but I'm a big fan of him as just being a good guy.
Well, let's look at Albert Pujols for a moment. 10-time All-Star, In fact, in one of those All-Star appearances was in 2015 with the Los Angeles Angels. So he does it relatively late in his career. He does have 2 World Championship rings on his resume, 6-time Silver Slugger Award, and the beat goes on, but the home run totals speak for itself. He's done it well. He's done it right. Has a couple titles, too. So he's done everything you can ask. I'm certainly pulling for him. You're right. He does have his next target is a fraud that he can pass, hopefully. And
I hope so.
Yeah, and if he finishes really 4th behind Babe Ruth, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So, but come on, Albert, get past Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah,
okay, you're way better than a top 5, but he's on his way, and we'll see. So, all right, and finally, let's talk about the Miami Marlins. I was on a Zoom call earlier today, and as always, I get a tremendous amount out of those calls. And I was asking Don Mattingly, the team will actually play 60 games. That is he glad that the doubleheaders are behind him? And he said, absolutely glad that they're behind him. This team had more doubleheaders than politicians tell lies. Let me tell you, so it seemed anyways, although they've all had them. But the reason why he says this is because he's worried about beating up your guys and using a lot of guys, not only the day of the game, but tomorrow, and getting swept is also tough to overcome. There's no question that these doubleheaders are taxing. So let's talk about the Miami Marlins. And before you guys say anything right now, it looks like in the bottom of the first, the Miami Marlins right now lead the Atlanta Braves. It looks like we're looking at a 3-2 score. So they have a very big series ahead of them. They got 4 against the Braves up in Atlanta, and they get to finish it off with the Bronx Bombers. So, okay, go ahead. Who wants to lead off with this? Don Mattingly, I think, is certainly a person I would love to get Manager of the Year for. And a lot of people can make cases, especially what he's had to deal with. Okay, Rick.
I'll take it.
Okay, go ahead, David. No, that's all right.
Want me to go?
Yeah.
Don Mattingly, to me, is the Manager of the Year. I mean, if there's a guy that has suffered through COVID, I mean, we all remember when pretty much the whole team had it, and to be frustrated to get it because you're out partying and going to nightclubs, it's got to be extremely frustrating when we've been told for many, many months to avoid that. And he put it past them. They have been rebuilding for quite a while. And he's just done a great job. He's a great manager. He was a great manager with the Dodgers. He's a great manager with the Marlins. If Jeter ever wanted to go another direction or something and bring in somebody, from the Yankees to be the manager, Don Mattingly would have no problem getting another job as a manager. I mean, he's just we talk about the A's when they do, with very little money, very little talent, and be successful. Pretty much that's what Don Mattingly has done, and I think it's even more than what the A's have done because it's just like a constant rebuild, new ownership. The fans are not coming, but they have been a very surprise, and I just thought they were going to lose 100 games every year. But Mattingly has just done a terrific job. He's a great manager. He's my pick for Manager of the Year, and I think the Marlins are very, very lucky to have him as a manager.
Yeah, let me also talk about a guy, and he says it's easy to be proud of this club because we've overcome a lot, battling every day. Don't get down they don't get down on themselves, and these players battle for every inch of the field, and they're a tough group. Well, you know what? When you make a comment like that, what that really means to me is the team is. You talk about the character of the team is about their manager, and that's where Don Mattingly has definitely won it with me. I've learned a lot about baseball, but adversity, just being on these calls time and time again. But he's right, though. These doubleheaders are tough. And again, during a time where you have to get as many games as you can, he seemed like to me that he was extremely relieved that they were over with, and now they get to play 7 normal games, although they've got their hands full. A score right now, just to update. The Braves are currently leading trail 3-2, and we'll give you more updates before we get off the broadcast. All right, Dave. What's your take?
Well, I definitely agree. Yeah, Mattingly, would get my vote for manager of the year, and of course, there's also a lot of guys or other managers in the National League who would raise their hand and say, well, I should get it, and here's why. But yeah, I agree basically everything Rick said. The Marlins are, they're lucky to have him. He's obviously a true legend in the game, and had many years of success with the Dodgers, and hopefully the Marlins are they can play obviously play the way he expects them to, that they can keep him, and of course they're currently sitting 3 games over 500, and actually seeing now Atlanta's just taking a 4-3 lead over the Marlins right now in the bottom of the first.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're definitely in a slugfest in that one.
Yeah.
He's a great manager and just, great name for the game of baseball. And, Marlins fans, when they can't get back to the ballpark, better be lucky they got Donnie Baseball down there in the dugout.
Yeah, they got some pretty good hurlers, too. You got Sixto Sanchez, a good young arm, a fireballer, as well as Sandy Alcantara on that team. And, of course, they have a good mixture of veterans as well. And I'm talking about Jesus Aguilar. Many people know about the Brewers. Corey Dickerson was cast aside by the Pirates. So they've got, and of course, one of their big starter players on there is Miguel Rojas, who's the heart of that ball club as a captain. So they got a lot of good players there. And again, they're building. It'll be interesting to see how this whole week plays out for sure. But yeah, Don Mattingly is easily my choice for manager of the year. So any closing thoughts before we get into our playoff edition of baseball broadcast next Monday?
I would just tell people COVID's still out there. Please be safe. Please wear masks, social distance, wash your hands. Please stop going to parties. Please stop avoid crowded places. Use some common sense. We are not even close to getting better at this. Every other country, you see countries like Canada, and you see Germany and New Zealand and all over who are recovering from this because people are listening and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And we need to stop making this so political. We need to stop calling this a hoax, and people just need to wake up and really just be safe because this thing is not a joke. And we're already past 200,000 deaths, and unfortunately it's going to get higher. So people just need to just use common sense, and we need to stop being selfish and just stay healthy.
Well, with that said, continue on and let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
My website is www.charlottebats.com. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. That's our group. We're also we have another Facebook page at Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And you can contact me on any of those social media networks.
Yeah, Rick appears with us twice a week, and he'll have a new assignment on Thursday with the Sports Exchange. He'll join myself and Mel Farr. With that said, David, go ahead, and then I'll wrap her up.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook at Dave Davino Hodges. Of course, again, if you're listening for the first time, my Davino nickname is I'm an enormous soccer fan, obviously, along with the game of baseball and sports in general. So kind of gave myself a Brazilian soccer name as I'm a huge fan of all the old Brazilian players and teams and all those colorful names they've had over the decades. I'm also on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports. And you can reach me on either one of those and, present any topic you might like us or you might want us to discuss on a future broadcast. And we might even give you some shout-outs if and when you send us messages for show topics.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. You're listening to 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan of Motor City Badmouth. Glad to have Rick Curti and David Hodges on with me every Monday night. We look forward to doing this broadcast. This broadcast obviously leads our Monday night lineup. Sports Exchange will be next. But you can find 108 Stitches Baseball Talk through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let me go over it again since I talk faster than any cars drive. Okay? You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You have to follow us on social media. You can do so at Twitter, at Tribune South. That's the @ Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune gets it done in both places. YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. We'll be having pretty much all of our broadcasts on that YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune. You'll be able to get the visual as well as the audio. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have all kinds of content on there as well as the broadcast. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Any input, ideas, suggestions, as David Hodges said, fire them our way. We'll be more than happy to get them on there and address any type of things that you want to talk to us about. And finally, you can also reach me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth, is spelled SCOTTMORGANROTH, but not like Fred Sanford. We don't have to say period. Scott Morganroth gets it done. So, with that said, guys, next time we do this broadcast, we're going to know who's in the playoffs. We're going to know how many droughts have been taken, which ones were unable to close the deal by the end of the week. So we're going to have a lot to focus on next week's edition. Before I let you guys go, I do have one question that I want to throw both of you. What are your thoughts about the postseason being played in the bubble? You'll have, obviously, Texas and California. The National League will be played at Houston and the Dallas area. And, of course, the American League will be at Dodger Stadium and Padres Park.
What I think about it in Texas is, COVID's very high up there. So, but so far, it looks like they know what they're doing right now. We haven't heard anyone right now getting it. So, as long as it's safe and everyone's will be okay, I have no issues with it. So they have to play it somewhere. All over the United States, it's either horrible or it's not too bad. So, they're doing what the best they can do, and got to give it to Major League Baseball. Right now, they are really doing. I'm surprised there's a season, to be quite honest with you. So, so why not?
Yeah, they proved a lot of people wrong. Bear in mind, though, that those stadiums in Texas had to be in dome stadiums or at least cover facilities. And in California, David, some closing thoughts on that before we close it out.
Yeah. It's definitely, I guess, a good way to, contain, anything that, that might pop up. Hopefully the players are smart. Rick, as you mentioned, telling everyone to be safe. Hopefully, there aren't any, repeats of the Cleveland Indians incident from about a month or so ago. And, hopefully all the players will stay safe and everybody just, players stay in their hotel rooms and continue to isolate, even if, you're not showing any symptoms or you're not, you don't have a positive test. But I guess I'm okay with it. It's like what a lot of sports fans have to get used to. You just kind of have to accept it, really, and just be glad that sports are being played. Now, I agree with what Rick just said. I'm surprised that a season even happened, but hopefully, players will be safe, and we can have some good postseason baseball in the bubble.
Yeah, well, the bubble format's worked the NHL, the NBA. No reason to think it won't continue in Major League Baseball. With that said, thank you for joining us tonight. We'll catch you on the next edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Good night, everybody.